Would you believe me if I told you that putting your money in a so-called high-yield savings account could actually make you poor over time? You see the 4% or 5% higher APY number flashing on the screen and it looks good, right? But when you measure it against inflation and the stock market, those high-yield savings accounts don't look as safe as they first appear. Today, we're breaking down the real deal, why high-yield savings accounts have their place, but why they can't be your only plan if you want to protect and grow your money. Hi, I'm Judy and welcome back to Reflections in Real Talk. On this channel, we take money topics that confuse, overwhelm, or sometimes even scare us and break them down into plain, simple language. If you're trying to make smart choices for the future, you're in the right place. Now today, we're diving into those eye-catching savings rates, 4% or even more, that you may have seen advertised. Are they legit? Are they really safe? And why, even at those high numbers, you still might be losing ground. I'll show you side-by-side comparisons of putting $100,000 in a savings account versus the stock market and what that looks like after 5 years. I'll also include a free downloadable worksheet in the description below. You can download it now to follow along or use it afterwards as reference. Now first, let's talk about high-yield savings account offers. Let's start with the basics. Yes, high-yield savings accounts at places like Brio Direct, Western Alliance, or Genius Bank are real. They are also FDIC insured, which means up to $250,000 per depositor is protected if the bank were to fail. According to Raisin, a high-yield savings account functions like a traditional savings account, typically with no restrictions on depositing and withdrawing funds, although some do have limited withdrawals, so read the fine print. They also earn interest at rates that are higher than the national average for standard savings accounts. And Raisin is a free digital platform that gives savers access to a variety of deposit products through a single login. It's sort of like Expedia for banking. Right now, here are some of the top advertised rates above 4% listed on bankrate.com. The first three are offered through Raisin, Western Alliance Bank, Cloud Bank, and American First Credit Union. Through online searches for high interest savings accounts, I also found several similar offers over 4% at these four online banks: Brio Direct, Genius Bank, and Bread Financial. These are legitimate offers, and compared to the 0.01% your big bank might pay, they look fantastic. So on the surface, 5% or even 4% sounds incredible. And for short-term money like your emergency fund or cash you need access to in the next year, it really can be a smart choice. But here's the catch: those rates are variable. They can change at any time, and history shows us they usually drop as soon as the bank has attracted enough deposits. Some require minimum deposits and in general are offered by online-only banks with lower expenses designed to attract new depositors. You may have to constantly monitor and move your money around from bank to bank in order to snag these rates, which can be a hassle. But more importantly, they don't solve the bigger problem we all face: inflation. Let's talk about inflation, the invisible thief in the room. Over the past couple years, inflation has been running hotter than average. The long-term average is around 3%, but in 2022, we saw spikes of 7% or higher. Even today, it hovers around 3 to 3.5%. And I would even argue in some sectors, it's much higher than that. For example, my electricity bill more than doubled, as did my insurance bill. And I definitely feel the pinch at the grocery store every week. These costs are nowhere near the 3.5% that are advertised, and these can be a big ticket item that affects you every single month. But how does putting money in a high-yield savings account impact your bottom line? It means if you had $100,000 in the bank 5 years ago and inflation averages 3% per year, your money today would only buy you about $86,000 worth of goods and services. That's a loss of purchasing power. So when you earn 5% interest in a savings account, but inflation is 3.5%, your real return is only about 1.5%. You may not notice it right away, but the slow erosion is happening in the background, and that may be one of the reasons more and more Americans are feeling poorer and poorer each year. But what is the alternative? Let's compare savings versus stock market. Let's take that same $100,000, option 1, put it in a high-yield savings account, earning around 5% per year. Option 2, you invest in something broad and diversified like the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, ticker symbol VTSAX. Historically, VTSAX has returned around 10% annually, though of course that goes up and down with the stock market, and as we know, past performance doesn't guarantee future returns. Nevertheless, here's how it plays out with all of our assumptions. After 5 years with the savings account at 5%, $100,000 grows to around $127,600. That's solid and safe and predictable. VTSAX at 10% average annual return, $100,000 grows to $161,000. That's a $33,000 difference. And here's the real difference. If inflation averaged 3% per year, your $127,600 from savings account is really only worth $109,000 in today's dollars. With your VTSAX, your $161,000 is worth around $138,000 in today's dollars. In other words, stocks not only beat inflation, but they also grow your wealth. The savings account barely kept you above water, but the stock market gave you real growth. Now, if this is making any sense to you and you're finding value, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and drop me a comment below. Let me know, do you feel safer in a savings account or are you comfortable in the stock market? Your voice really helps shape these conversations. Next, I want to dive into why people fear the stock market. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Judy, the stock market is scary. What if it crashes? And that's fair. We all lived through 2008. Some of us remember the dot-com crash or even the brutal bear market in 2020 when the pandemic first hit. In the short term, stocks are unpredictable. Seeing your account drop 20% in a year is gut-wrenching. That's why so many people cling to savings accounts. You see that balance, it doesn't go down and it gives you peace of mind. But here's the truth. Safety isn't just about stability, it's about purchasing power. If your money sits still while prices go up, you're slowly going backwards. It's a risk too, just a hidden one. How can you use these accounts to your benefit? High-yield savings accounts are perfect for your emergency fund. Think of cash you need right away if the car breaks down or a medical bill pops up. Another use is for short-term savings goals like buying a house in the next 1 to 3 years or funding a wedding or maybe travel if you're planning. And for retirees, they're an excellent choice for holding on to 1 to 2 years of living expenses. That way, if the stock market is going down, you can pull from the cash instead of selling investments at a loss. That's called protecting yourself from sequence of return risk. But for long-term growth, money you don't need for 5, 10, 20 years, stocks, bonds, and diversified funds are where you fight inflation and actually get ahead. So let's bring this full circle. Yes, those 5% savings accounts are legitimate. And yes, they can be a great tool. But don't be fooled into thinking they build long-term wealth. When inflation is chewing away at your dollar every year, standing still isn't really safe. It's slowly moving you backwards. The real safety comes from balance, cash for emergencies and investments for growth. It's not about all or nothing. It's about knowing what role each tool plays in your financial journey. Thanks for spending time with me today on Reflections and Real Talk. If you learned something new, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and if you haven't already, share it with a friend who's trying to figure out their money. And remember this, safety with your money isn't just about how it looks on paper, it's about what it can do for you tomorrow. And don't forget the free download in the description below. Until next time, I'm Judy, and I'll see you in the next video.